And I'm going to show you a trick that I would have used right from the beginning, but that you haven't seen. And then I'll talk about why the trick is sometimes suspicious. Okay. So, let me go back up to these test cases. Okay, I've just copied that stuff down here. I'm going to say bands 0 is the empty string. Dot split on new lines. Well, that should just give me back a list with nothing in it. Right? If I take the empty string and I split it on line breaks, there aren't any, there was no data to start with. I should just get back an empty list. Bands 1 is Bob Dylan whining split on empty. And split on the new line as well. Okay. And then band 2, and this is where it gets tricky. What did I just do? Well, let me print bands 0, bands 1, bands 2. Okay. The first one is a list containing the empty string. That's not what I want. Okay, it should be an empty list. The second is a list with one string, but that's what I want. And the second is a list with 2 strings. Okay, so here's the trick. In Python, if I start a string with 3 quotes, 1, 2, 3, that's 3 single quotes, or it can be 3 double quotes. I always use single quotes. It can then span multiple lines. I can say paragraph equals, start 3 quotes. This is a long paragraph of meaningless text that I should end now. Sorry, Dad was an English teacher. Have to capitalize properly. This is the string that contains THIS space IS space A space LONG new line PARA etc. etc. Okay. Print paragraph. Let's just print that out. Okay. It's one string. And I think I can force it there. Let me page that up so people can see it. Inside my program, I have quote, 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 text, new line, text, quote, quote, quote. Okay? And this is what Python actually stores. Text, 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 new line, text, text, text. It allows the string to span multiple lines. So, instead of me having to write a list of strings with trailing new lines as my test case, it's a bit of a pain to type in. I'm just going to say band 0 equals empty string. Bands 1 equals that. And then bands 2, I'm going to take a multi-line string and I'm going to split it on those new lines to get back a list of strings. I think it's less typing and a bit easier to read once you know the trick. Okay? Because now, if I want to say bands 5, all I do is say Beatles. And let's not put a space before the colon this time. Guitar 2, bass 1, bad percussion 1. I'm sorry, Ringo Starr is grossly overrated. Okay, I got the look. I'll take that out. Elvis Presley, guitar 1. Yeah, he had backing bands. He wasn't bad solo. Pick another artist. Bruce Springsteen and whatever. Right? Vocals 1, guitar 2, bass 1, percussion 1. Pick somebody else, preferably short. Beg pardon?
U2.
U2. Yeah, we're winding up with a whole... what's your favorite string quartet? Somebody here must listen to classical music. Give me a string quartet. Tokyo Quartet. Thank you. Right? Is violin 1, violin 2, bad violin 1, and then cello 1. Sorry, yes, viola, I know. And I need one more. Beg your pardon? I don't know how to spell that. Okay. Simon and Garfunkel. Don't laugh at me. Right? Vocals 2. Okay? Dot split on new lines. Print bands 5. Okay, so I'm just going to take that 5-line string. I'm going to show you what it turns into. It turns into those 5 strings. Exactly what I want to pass in to read stuff. This is simple to do. It makes my test cases more readable, but I've sacrificed a little bit of fidelity. When I'm actually reading lines from a file, those lines will keep, those strings will keep the new lines at the end. If I write a multi-line string and then explode it on new lines, I get these strings without the new lines at the end. Okay? This is convenient, but it means that what I'm passing in to read lines isn't exactly what I would get out of a file. So I look at this and I say, yeah, it's a small difference. I'm pretty sure my code works for that case. I don't care. It's easier for me to type in this test case than it is for me to type square bracket, line with a new line, text with a new line, text with a new line. Okay? The difference isn't that big here, but you will find a lot of cases where it's really easy to construct a test case that is 95% of what you want, and getting that extra 5% would take hours. So you don't. Testing is about economics. I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit of fidelity, a little bit of truthfulness in my tests to make it much easier to write the test so that at least I'm testing something. Yes, I should come back and maybe here, for bands 1, actually include the new line at the end of string that I would get if I was reading it from files. I mean, if I've typed in the square brackets and the string anyway, why not do that? Right? To make sure I'm exercising it at least once. Here, after I've done the split, I'll have 2 strings, neither of which will have a new line at the end. Okay. Fine, it's easier for me to type this in. Right? Fewer keystrokes. But now there's some stuff that I'm not really exercising that is part of my code. Okay. And you'll run into this trade-off over and over and over again. Zealots will tell you, no, this is wrong. Type the extra stuff. Always test exactly what you're going to deploy. Yeah, no. All right? Sometimes it's just not economical to do 100% accurate testing. John Douglas of McDonnell Douglas fame, the guy who designed the DC-3, which many people still regard as the best airplane ever built. It's not pretty, but you can drop it on the ground a few times, it'll still fly, right? It was a workhorse in the 40s and 50s. He had a big sign up over his desk during the Second World War. Not everything worth doing is worth doing right. Okay? Now, I don't tell this to undergraduates, and I would ask you not to say that either, because they will use that as a license for cowboy coding. They'll say, oh, I don't have to do this right. I can just hack. No. You need to be disciplined in making your decisions about when am I going to test exactly what the program is going to run on in the real world, when am I going to cut a few corners to make testing a lot easier, and which bits, like the first 3 lines of read file, I'm just not going to bother to test at all. Because if it's broken, it'll be immediately obvious to me that it's broken. And, I've written that code enough times that I'm pretty sure I've got it right. Testing is about economics.